What would you do if the only thing standing between your father's freedom and 20 years in a concrete cage was a miracle? And what if that miracle came wrapped in duct tape sneakers and offered by a 10-year-old girl who had nothing to lose? This isn't just a story about justice. It's about the moment tradition and arrogance collided in a federal courtroom, forcing a proud, paralyzed judge to confront everything he believed about power and healing. The judge's voice, cold and judicial, was cutting right through the still, formal air of the Harmony County Court in Tennessee. Judge Arthur Vance, stern and imposing even confined to his high-backed electric wheelchair, was moments away from sentencing Thomas Rivers to a lifetime behind bars. But just before the sentence was read, a small figure darted forward. That was Faith Rivers, my daughter. 10 years old, wearing worn-out clothes from a church donation box, her little left sneaker flopping where the sole had come loose. She walked right up to the bench, looked Judge Vance straight in the eye, and said the most impossible thing imaginable. Your Honor, you're in pain right now. Lower back, right side. Started about 15 minutes ago. Vance froze. The courtroom, packed with reporters and onlookers, held its breath. She was exactly right. He'd been fighting that muscle spasm for minutes, trying to breathe through the agony. I can stop that pain in 3 minutes, Faith continued, her voice small but steady. And in 12 more, I can make you feel your legs again. The courtroom erupted. Laughter, gasps, whispers of voodoo and con. But Judge Vance felt it, too, a sudden, sharp, impossible tingle in his right big toe. Faith Morgan, looking up at him, pressed her challenge. Free my dad, and I'll heal you. Right here, right now. He had 60 seconds to decide. To understand the weight of that moment, you have to understand our reality. Faith and I lived in an 8x20-foot trailer in Oak Grove Mobile Park. Our clothes were charity. Our survival was tenuous. But Faith carried a wealth far richer than anything Judge Vance knew. She had been learning since she was 6 from her grandmother, Mama Ruby. Mama Ruby, now 72, had hands like weathered leather and 60 years of what people outside our community called bone setting. No license, no degree, just the ability to read a body like most people read a book, to feel the vertebrae that sat crooked, to know the knots that pulled the bones out of alignment. Faith's mother, Maya, my beautiful wife, who was a nurse at Unity Health Center, used to say Faith would be the bridge, connecting Mama Ruby's hands to modern medicine. But Maya died 2 years ago from aggressive breast cancer. By the time they found it, it was stage 4. And even if they'd found it early, there was no money for treatment. Not on a nurse's salary, not with me, Thomas, having just lost my job. And my job was the reason we were all there. I was an X-ray technician at Unity Health. I took the X-rays of a patient named George Hamilton, who came in with chest pain. I saw an unusual shadow, 2.3 centimeters, in the right lung. I reported it to the radiologist, Dr. Stephen Phillips, but Phillips, making $320,000 a year, dismissed it as a rib artifact and told me, the $48,000 a year technician, not to document it. 8 months later, Mr. Hamilton died of lung cancer. The tumor had been there all along. The hospital settled the civil suit, but they needed a scapegoat. Phillips was too valuable, too connected. I was expendable. The district attorney, pushed by political donations and public pressure, charged me with manslaughter. My public defender told me to take the 5-year deal, but I refused. I didn't make a mistake. I reported what I saw. So we went to trial. The jury came back guilty. The recommendation was 20 years. 20 years my daughter would spend without her father. Judge Vance, on the other hand, lived in a 4,000-square-foot mansion on Riverside Hill. He'd been paralyzed 3 years ago after a 30-foot fall, fracturing his T12 and L1. He'd tried everything. 2 surgeries, stem cells, 18 months of physical therapy, $340,000 gone. Nothing worked. Now he was running for appellate judge, and he needed a conviction, a showcase of toughness, to win. But right now, the pain was at a 9 out of 10. He was trapped between political ambition, agonizing pain, and this impossible, duct-taped child offering him a way out. If he refused, the headlines would read, "Judge too proud to accept help from child." But if he accepted and she succeeded, he closed his eyes, breathed in 4 counts, out 6 counts. He looked at the child standing there, terrified but steady, offering him relief no doctor could give. In the end, it wasn't compassion that made him say yes. It was pure, desperate physical necessity and political calculation. "You have 3 minutes," Vance said, His voice clipped. "If nothing changes, security will escort you out." Faith kicked off her flapping sneakers. Mama Ruby always said, "Bare feet connect you to the earth. Helps you feel where the blocks are." She walked up the 3 steps to the judge's bench. She placed her hands on his back, counting down his spine, T1, T2. At T12, she stopped. "This one," she said, her voice clear. "It's rotated 4 degrees to the left. That's why you always lean left in your chair." Vance's eyes widened. How could she know that? "There's a nerve trapped between T12 and L1, Faith continued, moving her thumbs to the spot. "I need to release the muscle first. It's going to hurt for about 20 seconds. "Do it," Vance gritted out. Faith began the cross-fiber friction. Small, deep circles, 60 strokes in the same spot, 4 pounds of pressure. Vance gasped, but Faith coached him through the breathing. In for 4, out for 6. Slowly, incredibly slowly, the muscle released its iron grip. After 3 minutes and 20 seconds, Faith stepped back. Vance's face was grey, but the sweat was drying. "The pain," he whispered. "It's better. Down to maybe a 6. "I know," Faith said. "But the nerve is still compressed. I need 5 more minutes." And that's when Judge Vance felt it, a tingle in his right big toe. A sensation he hadn't felt in 3 years. Not pain, not numbness, but life. A small signal, pushing through the scar tissue, all the way down. He didn't say anything, afraid to jinx it. But Faith heard the catch in his throat. "You felt something, didn't you?" she asked. "My toe," he whispered, tears suddenly welling in his eyes. "My right big toe. It's tingling." Faith smiled, the quiet triumph of 4 generations of healing wisdom. "That means the nerve is waking up. We need to be gentle with it. Can I keep going?" Vance could only nod. Behind him, my public defender, Alan Brooks, sat frozen, staring. The gallery was on its feet, whispering, praying. Faith had done what 3 years and $340,000 had failed to do. Faith continued her work. This wasn't just pain management. This was addressing the core of the injury. She was working on the scar tissue, the thick, ropey adhesions that choke the nerves after years of surgery and trauma. This was level 2 of Mama Ruby's technique, and it was going to hurt. "Your Honor," Faith warned. "I need to break up the adhesions now. It's going to feel like deep pressure, maybe 5 out of 10 on pain. But it's good pain. It means the tissue is releasing." She worked with meticulous, focused intensity, her warm hands pressing perpendicular to the scar fibers. After 5 minutes, the tissue softened, gaining elasticity. Next came the nerve work. I watched as Alan Brooks, my public defender, held Vance's ankle, and Faith began nerve flossing, lifting his right leg slowly, then bending it at the knee, 20 slow, controlled repetitions to help the sciatic nerve glide. At repetition 12, Vance shouted, "I felt that in my calf. Electric. Like lightning." The courtroom gasped. 40 people stood up. But Faith stayed focused, counting the final repetitions. When she finished, she performed the final step, spinal traction, a gentle decompression, creating space between the vertebrae. Vance heard 3 small, deep pops, and then, the words that changed everything. "Your Honor," Faith said, "I need you to try something. Just think about moving your right foot. Imagine the signal going from your brain down your spine. Just think it." Vance closed his eyes, concentrated, and after 20 seconds, his right big toe moved. 2 millimeters. A tiny wiggle. But it moved. Alan Brooks gasped, confirming the movement. Vance opened his eyes, tears streaming down his face, realizing the impossible had just become real. "Your Honor," Faith whispered, seeing the tears. "It's not impossible. It's just forgotten. Your body remembers how to move. We just had to remind it." But Vance wasn't done. He looked at the courtroom, then back at his foot, and made the ultimate judicial decree. "I need to see the evidence." He ordered the bailiff to bring him the case files, all of them. He pulled up the X-ray image on the large courtroom screen, the image I took of George Hamilton's chest. Faith, standing beside him, pointed to the screen. "That shadow there, it's 2.3 centimeters. That's soft tissue. That's not a normal rib shadow." Vance read my testimony aloud. "I saw something unusual in the lung field. I told Dr. Phillips. He said it was artifact. He confirmed the truth. Dr. Phillips told me not to document the mass to protect himself from liability. I was the scapegoat. Vance connected the final dots. The $25,000 campaign donation from Unity Health Center to the prosecutor, Rebecca Walsh. The hospital paid for my conviction to protect their high-paid radiologist. Ms. Walsh, Vance stated, his voice steel. A man's daughter just gave me back my toe. I think a regular is exactly what we need today. He hit the gavel 3 times. I'm calling a 30-day continuance to review the evidence. Christopher Morgan will remain free on bail pending